Okay, so go ahead and get started. So, yes, okay. Okay. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. آمين يا رب العالمين. ثم أما بعد. So we begin today, inshallah, with Surah Al-Qadr, which is about the night of power, the night of decree, or the night of great value. There are multiple translations of Qadr that are possible, and it is appropriate that from the beginning of that today, we have entered the last 10 nights of Ramadan. There are lots and lots of opinions that are found in our tradition. Some counted as many 40 opinions, which I thought is hilarious because there's 30 days of the month, but there's 40 opinions of what it could be. There's others like Imam Razi who counts 9 different opinions, and some even hold the view that it's 13th night or the 19th night or the 23rd or the 21st or the 27th, etc., etc., etc. There's multiple views on what night it could be. But what I'm not going to talk about today is which night it could be. What I will talk about today, because after studying all those different opinions and those inclinations, what seems to be the most convincing view of what night is Laylatul Qadr is that it is what strongest argument. And the attitude towards that Laylatul Qadr is almost like it moves every year. Don't think it's one of these nights. It's just a specific night. It's a moving target. You're constantly seeking it. And this is actually something that evidences from some of the signs of Laylatul Qadr. And I'll read some of them to you. There's some ahadith that point to what to look for. Like Sahaba saw in a dream, you'll have even believers today, they'll see in a dream and they'll be convinced on their own that it's Laylatul Qadr, but they can't, post it online. I saw in a dream that must, like, it is tonight. But for themselves, they can get that feeling. And it's an unusual sense of peace, calm. There's some ahadith, I'll read them off to you when the time comes, about what it feels like in the night, but none of that is actually 100%. Because, there are people that live in Antarctica, and they're not going to get a nice breeze, for instance, and say, oh, it must be Laylatul Qadr because of the nice breeze. It's not going to happen. Or there's some people that live in different kinds of climates, and they live in Scotland where it's mostly cloudy, and the rays of the sun in the morning aren't really a thing. So it's going to be really difficult to say, well, these signs are an absolute inclination. These are some indications that have maybe alluded to. So it's not a hard science, Yet again, I remind myself and remind you that this is a very important quest. Seeking that night and taking advantage of that night is such a big deal that Allah actually dedicated an entire surah, not just an ayah or 2 ayat, an entire surah of the Quran just to this. And if that wasn't enough, in the opening of Surah Al-Dukhan, He did it again. In Surah number 44, He actually did it again. He dedicated the first passage only to this night and what this night implies and what the importance of it is. So it's not a small thing. There are other nights or days in Islam that have value, right? But there's like Hajj has sacred days, or the entire month of Ramadan has sacred value, but not any one of those times in the year or the calendar that has specified by an entire surah just by itself. That's never happened. The only other thing that I can think of is another surah that is dedicated by a time is Surah Al-Jum'ah. But even then, the entire surah is not dedicated to Jum'ah. It's just the last couple of ayat, 9, 10, 11, are dedicated to the Friday prayer. The rest of the surah is about something else that leads up to the Friday prayer. And this is unique. And this is something that we should be taking into consideration as we have entered into these nights. So I pray that Allah Azza wa Jalla gives us the opportunity and the strength and the enthusiasm and the sincerity and the genuine heart and the genuine tears for us to be able to try to earn Allah's forgiveness at this time. So Allah Azza wa Jalla begins by saying, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr. There's no doubt that we in fact sent it down in the night of power. Now, if you notice in the previous surah, which is Surah Iqra, Allah has removed Jibril alayhi salam from the equation, as if to say Jibril came to you, but the words are my own. I am the one who sent it down. So he took credit himself and made it more direct in the night of power. He described it as not we sent our messenger Jibril down to you, but we ourselves sent it down to you in the night of power. And notice the word who, inna anzalna who, we sent it down, rather than saying we sent the Quran down. In other words, when you say it, you're obviously thinking about something. You're expecting that people already know. So if I was talking to you in a conversation, I said, hey, did you watch it? Did you see it? And you could either have no idea what I'm talking about, or what's it, or what did I say, what did I see? Or both of you are watching the cricket match, or both of you are watching the football game. And when I say, did you see it? And they're like, yeah, well, I saw it. That was a really awesome play. And then nobody says it was the game or it was the match. Everybody said it was it. It's awesome because it's already on our minds. When Allah says, inna anzalnahu, we set it down, it's actually an indication that the Quran, as it started coming down, was on everybody's minds already. It was something that became a phenomenon. And when you say, have you heard it? It's like people in Mecca, when they heard the concept, have you heard it? They couldn't think of anything other than Quran. It wasn't poetry or some story or anything else that came into their mind, even the enemy's minds. The Quran permeated it and flooded the city of Mecca. So when Allah says it's telling the believers, but also even those who don't believe, that it is a reference to the Quran itself, and that is appreciation of the power and the grandeur of the Quran, that it doesn't even have to be spelled out by name and people still know what it's talking about. What Allah is referring to. So that is captured inside Inna Anzalnahu. The other question that has been raised about Inna Anzalnahu that we had no doubt sent down is that we go back to the opinion of Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, which is an interesting one. And that is that Allah sent the entire Quran from the seventh heaven to the first in one night, in this night. And then from that place, from the first heaven down to the Prophet ﷺ, over 23 years. So the revelation came into two stages. Inzal happened, meaning the complete revelation came down from heaven number 7 to heaven number 1 in one night, and then from there it trickled over the next 23 years. And this is attributed to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. Scholars are inclined to believe that this is something he learned from the Messenger himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the reason they are inclined to believe that is obviously because there is no way for Ibn Abbas, as a companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to know what is going on in the seventh heaven or the first heaven. These are matters of the unseen. And the only way that he can be confident in matters of the unseen is if his knowledge of that is attributed to something he heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Otherwise, he wouldn't be dare saying something about the unseen realm. The only one who can speak with confidence about the unseen is the Messenger of Allah himself, who is uninformed about the unseen. If a companion is speaking about the unseen, our confidence, especially in a knowledgeable companion like Ibn Abbas, then our confidence is that he must have learned this knowledge of the unseen from the Prophet ﷺ. He's not quoting them, he's paraphrasing them, and this is why this is called marfu'a. This knowledge is actually something acquired from the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, which is why I'm also inclined towards that view. At least this surah, there's another way that it can be interpreted, that we started sending it down in the night of power. It can be interpreted this way, that we started send revelation to the Prophet ﷺ began in this night. And the who, some argue, is actually going back to the previous surah, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. We sent that down in the night of power. So he's making reference to that in the night of power. Now, a minor controversy in our studies, which it's almost a minor issue, but I'll mention it for academic purposes. Some actually held the view that this Laylatul Qadr is not referring to Ramadan anyways. It's referring to the middle of Sha'ban, because there are some narrations that are attributed from Aisha radiallahu anha about the blessings of the month of Sha'ban. It's called Laylatul Mubarakah also, and has to do with decree and stuff like that. So they held the view that maybe it's not talking about Ramadan, this is talking about the middle of Sha'ban. Now that view is strictly outright negated for many reasons, and I'll share one of them. Allah says explicitly about the Quran, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. The month of Ramadan is where the Quran was sent, and every single night of the month of Ramadan, every night of Ramadan belongs within the revelation month. And this night, when he said we sent it down in Laylatul Qadr must belong in Ramadan. These two things go hand in hand, and the argument becomes ironclad. There's no other way of looking at it. So now I want to share with you just some things about the word qadr and 3 ways that this word qadr can be interpreted or thought about. And that will help, inshallah, our framework for this surah and our understanding of what it can mean. Now, one of the meanings of qadr in Arabic is calculation, qiyas, and the idea of qadr is to put a limit on something, or taqdir is to calculate the extent of something, or qaddarnahu manazila, or we calculated the stages for we set the stages for the moon. So one way this is interpreted, and this is collaborated by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Dukhan, that this is a time, this is a night in which Allah sends decisions, major decisions, for the rest of the year. And this is all the good decisions, right? All the good decisions for the rest of the year are said: who is going to earn what, who's going to enjoy what happiness, what child is going to be born, what marriage is going to take place, what good and what bad, and who's going to come to Islam, and who is going to die a peaceful death, whatever it may be. All those decisions they're already known by Allah, but the angels come to start executing those decisions in this night. This is the night, you know how you have in governments where the budget and then the execution of the budget. This is that day. This is that day where the heavens, where the decree by Allah is sent down, and the decisions are now starting to get executed by the angels. And this is one of the ways to understand Laylatul Qadr. In light of that, I'll read something to you from Surah Al-Dukhan. Hamim wal kitab al-mubin. Hamim, I swear by the clear book. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatin mubarakan. Certainly we sent it down, we sent the book down in a night that is full of blessings, that keeps on enhancing its blessings, keep producing more good than you would ever expect. Keep this word in mind. Mubaraka means something that has been given the ability to multiply and to grow. So that's what Mubarak means, something that stays, multiplies, and grows. And we're going to come back to that when we come back to Surah Al-Qadr and Laylatul Qadr, and we're going to see a multiplication, and we're going to see the tafsir of Mubarakah. And he says, "Inna kunna mundirin." We're always been one to give warnings. In it, every wise decision has been separated and distinguished. Every wise decision. This is the night of the great decision making. Qadr is actually decree, limits, and those decisions have now been issued by Allah Azza wa Jal. Amran min indina, these are commands that come from us. Inna kunna mursilin, we've always been sending them. Rahmatan min rabbik, it is a mercy. All of these commands entail in them a mercy and love from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are commands from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These decisions are not decisions of destruction or calamity or things like that. They are decisions of mercy and love and care from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is important part. After that, he says, "Innahu huwa as-sami'ul alim." He is the ultimate hearing and all-knowing. What is going on inside of your heart and what du'as you are making, especially Allah is hearing. That is what He is saying in the ayat of Surah Al-Dukhan. And we have to absolutely be convinced of that. رَبِّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِن كُنتُم مُوقِنِينَ. The master of the skies and the earth and whatever lies in between, if you are thoroughly convinced yourself. May Allah give us the blessing of Laylatul Qadr. The second meaning of Qadr is actually manzala, or sharaf, nobility, honor. This is the night of great honor. Why you can think of it as this: the most honorable of the angel Jibreel came in this night, and he came with the most honorable book of Allah, the Quran, and he gave it to the most honorable messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the most honored of nights. So we have a combination of these honors and glories that come together in Laylatul Qadr, right? So it's actually almost like the first ayah, "Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr," is almost describing like one of the things that make this night so noble and so honorable. So far I've given you decree and I've given you honor. Another meaning of qadr or qudra is actually power. It's power. And this is the night in which we should have a complete faith and the power of Allah to change things, to change our fate, to change our behaviors, and to give us and empower us to do things, because Allah is endowed this night with unusual strength and unusual power. It's a manifestation of Allah's miracles in this night. After all, the greatest miracle ever given to humanity, the Quran, was given in this night, the most powerful word of Allah. So we should have more belief and miraculous answering of du'as in this night than any other night. And then a rare opinion I also found that was interesting is that the word qadr also means congestion, or when something is constrained, and that is the meaning that we saw in Surah Al-Fajr, وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَا بَتَلَهُ فَقَدْرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. When a believer, a human being, his rizq has been limited and congested, and instead of qadr was used. So some say so many angels descend in this night, and there's a hadith about how there are more angels than the grains of sand on the earth on this night. And then actually suggests that there are angels that otherwise don't descend on the earth. The world has angels. Allah does send angels, but He sends more angels on that one night that are actually meant for the skies, but only come to the earth for this night. And He floods this world so much that it actually gets congested. There's no room for any evil left. In this world, it is completely flooded and filled with angels. So now, these four implications that I have given you are the most commonly irradiated one, and light of Surah Al-Dukhan is that this is the night of decree, that this is the night where decisions are going to be made for the rest of the year. And now the greatest decision, and it's the greatest decision of Allah for humanity, which was the coming of the final revelation, is also part of that night. Now, just general thing that Allah says, the Quran says, it's to remind people about Allah's days. And one of the nice things about Allah's days and Allah's nights is one of the most valuable nights is the night of the Quran, which is Laylatul Qadr. And the Mufassir says that this is actually considered, Ibn Ashur, he says that this should be considered the Eid of the Quran. You know, this is like the anniversary of the Quran that we're celebrating in this night. Now, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. What could give you any clue what the night of power, the night of decree, and the night of calculation, what could it be? What could give you any clue? This is Allah's way of saying, I'm about to tell you the main things you need to know about Laylatul Qadr. The core concepts that you need to internalize for you to value this night and not lose sight, so you don't become someone who doesn't take advantage of it. So I start off by saying we don't want to know which night it is. And I want to mention a couple bits of wisdom about why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't let us know. About people like Imam Razi, they try to take some wisdoms out of this. We have a narration where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew, but then he was made to forget. And another incident in his life, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, somebody was sleeping, and he told Ali radiallahu anh to go wake him up. And Ali radiallahu anh woke him up to pray. And Imam Ali, he said, Ya Rasulullah, you rush to do things yourself. Why did you do this? Why did you tell yourself to do this? When you ever see an opportunity to do good, instead of telling someone to do it, and I'm curious why you made me do that. So, well, actually, because if I did it and he got lazy and he didn't listen or he shooed me off, that would have been an act of disbelief, right? So if he shooed you off and didn't respond, then he's just being lazy. But with me, if he's defying me, and that's a pretty big deal, right? So with that mentality in mind, if we knew Laylatul Qadr was tonight and we dismissed it, that would be a huge crime. So after an entire surah has been revealed to the believer about how big a deal it is, and then the believer kind of, not in the mood today. If he did that, or she did that, that would be a major, major crime. So as grand as something is, it is equally as grand its violation. It's actually a mercy of Allah that He did not open that door for us. That He didn't just say, this is the night, problem solved. This is actually in our favor. May Allah Azza wa Jalla make us of those who humbly seeks this night and finds it, inshaAllah. So now the first value of the night, Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. The night of power, or the night of decree, is better than 1,000 months. It's better than 1,000 months. And this 1,000 months is, some have looked at it as literally 1,000 months, and I've calculated 83 years and 4 months. This is how good it is. If you prayed to the Fajr today, then you should take a vacation for 83 years. It's not like that. Let's just get that out of the way. This is not what this means at all. The other thing you should know is that Allah Azza wa Jal, when He mentions time, times 1,000 or 1,000 years, He sometimes says, says from what you can count. Anyways, it could almost be applied here that it's better than 1,000 months than what you can imagine. 1,000 months is a lifetime. 83 years is about an average person's lifetime. So Allah's way of saying, this is in your estimation, this night is better than an entire lifetime. Right? Find this night and you have found an entire good life for yourselves. SubhanAllah. Here we are thinking about the decisions that are going to go from this year to the next year. And Allah Azza wa Jalla says yes. Even though those decisions are there. This night is so noble, it's so grand and so powerful. This can set the course for the rest of your life, actually. It can change everything about your life. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. It's not just that every prayer you make counts 1,000, like you're prayed for 1,000 months. And that's true. That's true. Every dhikr you do, it counts as if you did it for 1,000 months. It's not just that. That would be amazing enough. But the larger implication here is that this is better than an entire lifetime. Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. So we have to genuinely seek this night in order to transform ourselves and have hope in the rest of our lives and becoming completely blessed by Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is the first value. Qadr by Arabic also means value. Qadr and is also called the night of value. So Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr is the first answer to the question, what is the value? If it's the night of value, what is its value? Well, its value is more than 1,000 months. By the way, remember the word more, khayrun min. He doesn't say better than, he says better than, but he doesn't say how much better than. Is it 1,000 times better than 1,000 a month? Is it 1,000,000,000 times better than that? He didn't qualify. He didn't quantify. He just said it's better than 1,000 months. So 1,000 months is just, we can imagine. But this is far beyond that too. Because if it was, Laylatul Qadr, mithlu alf shahr, it's like 1,000 months, then that would be something. But he's saying this is better. This is better than 1,000 months. So the next item, one meaning of Qadr was value, and that's kind of answered by the value of this, better than 1,000 months. The next question is, we said decree, the commands of Allah that come for every issue. So the next ayah will actually deal with the other meaning of Qadr. تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. The angels descend along with Ar-Ruh, the Spirit, what the Bible calls the Holy Spirit, the Quran calls Ar-Ruh, which is Jibreel alayhi salam himself. So all the angels descend, and Jibreel alayhi salam, special guest in the house, the original star of revelation, the of all the angels, the one that brought the Quran to begin with, he himself celebrates the anniversary of the night of the Quran by coming down again himself. That's he's Thumma Ameen. He's someone that has a huge following. Not only him, but his original team that used to come with the legion of the Quran, all of them are now descending into this heaven, into these heavens, and into the earth. This is the same Jibreel alayhi salam who brought the book to Musa alayhi salam, to Isa alayhi salam, who ayyadna bil ruh al-qudus, who gave it to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he gave in our company in this night. And all of his followers, and then all of the other angels. Angels, you can think of them as different departments. The first heaven has its angels, the second has the angels, the third has its angels. Angels are stationed for different tasks. Allah will describe sometimes angels that guard us, other times angels that have the job of writing what we do, other times he'll describe angels that go around the arsh and they just do istighfar. There are angels doing different things. And tonight, all the angels have been taken off task and are just sent down. Even the angel Jibreel alayhi salam, from Inda Sidrat al-Muntaha, right by Sidrat al-Muntaha, where his maqam is, where he is Ameen, from there he descends and he's come down for this night. So in that night, all of them, bi'idhni rabbihim, by leave from their master. This is an important thing to understand. Angels have their own work to do. They have their own tasks. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them freedom to now come down and go do this and descend here. Wa bi'idhni rabbihim is important. Min kulli amr. By Allah's permission, they come with every kind of command, every kind of issue. And that means that if it's a health issue, a personal issue, a family issue, a war issue, a spiritual issue, an emotional issue, a physical issue, a financial issue, it doesn't matter what kind of issue, Allah Azza wa Jal has decreed that they come to solve all kinds of issues and help people with all kinds of issues, declaring the qadr of Allah, declaring the decree of Allah in this night for those who seek it. So the angels are just all around us, hovering around us. They have flooded our space and they are ready to give what Allah has written for us, subhanAllah. This is تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. By the way, the present tense of this ayah also suggests that this is not the first time that it happened when the Quran was revealed, that it keeps happening and it happens every single year. That's also a question that was raised in tafsir. Is Laylatul Qadr that one time, or is it going to happen every year? Is it the same descent of the angels every year? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't just say the angels descended and the ruh descended. He says they descend, meaning this is a continuous thing. It's a gift Allah gives to humanity every single year. So مَعْنَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ sorry, forgive me. Yeah, so legions of angels, noble among them, there's a gift of Allah to the Muslims. So talking about بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. Some have also said يَحْفَظُونَ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ. They secure the command of Allah. Allah has issued His decree, and now they're going to make sure that they're executed. Now, quickly get to the last ayah. And as we get to this ayah, Allah Azza wa Jal will now give us another meaning of qadr. Qadr also means limit. قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا. Allah has put a limit on everything. So if you notice, the first answer was about the value of Laylatul Qadr. The second answer was about the decree of Laylatul Qadr. And the third ayah, the third answer, is about the limit of Laylatul Qadr. Okay? And the limit meaning how long does it last? It's another meaning of Qadr. Beautifully, I don't even have to describe the organizational structure of the surah to you. Every one of its ayat after the question, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr, wa ma adraka ma laylatul qadr, are telling you something unique about Qadr, a unique item about Qadr. One of them, again, it's a value, it's better than 1,000 months. One of them about its decree, because it's the meaning of Qadr too. And one of them about its limits. And the one about its limits is to me the most fascinating one. Salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr. I will start with what makes it really unique. Matla means the rise of Fajr, not the early break of Fajr, the rise of Fajr. The sun is already coming out, the sky has already turned. In other words, Allah made this night, He's so merciful and so grand and so giving in this night that instead of as you know how our fast ends when it's still dark? You know, it's still kind of dark, or starts when it's still dark, but not Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr continues until you start seeing a light itself. He extended it, and He extended its value until Matla al-Fajr. So its limit is unlike any other night. He still counts the early morning part of this Fajr as part of the. It's a unique gift of Laylatul Qadr that Allah Azza wa Jal enhanced its duration for us. Of course, He used the words Salamun hiya. And those of you who are familiar with Arabic, the normal sentence structure is hiya salamun. Right, but He reversed that sequence and He said salamun hiya. But what that does was salamun. What that means, what that does is that it creates a kind of ikhtisas where this night there's no peace like this night. Like there's no night that has the kind of peace that this night has. That's salamun hiya. Peace like no other in it. Peace like no other in it. It's a tangent, and I'll come back. But I should mention it as there's some interesting, fun interpretations that have been found amongst that others have completely dismissed as silly, but I thought they were kind of adorable, so I would share them with you. Laylatul Qadr is the 27th. They literally counted Inna anzalnahu fi third word. When you get to hiya, it is the word number 27. So this is it. So it must be it. You know, it's the 27th night. That's one way that some people have derived. It's the 27th night. The other way, which is very cool, and some say is also attributed to Ibn Abbas, but I'm not so sure, it's a little weaker, is that the word Laylatul Qadr, Laylatul Qadr is made up of 9 letters, a 9-letter combination of words. And that's mentioned 3 times. In Azana fi Laylatul Qadr, wa ma adraka ma Laylatul Qadr, Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alf shahr. 9 times 3, 27. There you go, 27th night. This is done deal. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So others said, but basically, these are some opinions, but we should, I thought I should mention it because, I remember that it was kind of funny that we heard about that. But yeah, so go ahead and let's get back. But let's understand the word salam. That's actually a very heavy word in this entire surah. That there's 2 or 3 words that dominate the surah. There's qadr, there's khayr. You see a key word in every ayah. The first couple of ayat is qadr. The second key word is khayr, khayrun alf shahr. The 3rd word is amr, min kulli amr. The final word is salam. Meaning that all of them has something to do with qadr at the end of the day. The qadr itself, the of course betterment, and then the commandment of Allah or the decree of Allah, and finding that peace. Salam is actually telling you that everything that's happening in this night, as none of it is for destruction, none of it is for punishment, none of it is for death. It's all for giving people peace, security, safety, calm, etc. The word salam, the way it's used in the Quran, is important to note that it's one of the names of Allah. Al-Quddus al-Mu'minu as-Salam. Right? So salam is one of the names of Allah Azza wa Jal. Similarly, Jannah is called Dar as-Salam. One of the names of Jannah is the place of peace, the place of salam. So there was the name of Allah and the name of the heaven of itself, Dar as-Salam. So Fusira salam bil khair. Also, and by the way, when something is terribly unsafe, like a fire, and you wanted to, all its dangers should be removed, was thrown into the fire become cold and become peace itself, right? That's what was said to Ibrahim alayhi salam, or to the fire of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So the subtlety sign in the language that there's something else that is really beautiful here that should be observed, and that is that the word salam, what is called in Arabic, it's a masdar, it's an infinitive, and that would be the English equivalent of peace. Now, a night is not peace, a night is peaceful, right? A night is actually technically peace itself, it's peaceful. Allah didn't say the night is peaceful. He said the night is peace itself. As if to say, not only is this night peaceful, but actually if you can take advantage of this night, then you have found peace itself for the rest of your life. You have found ultimate peace. As if there is no such thing. If you haven't experienced what peace means, then you haven't found this night. That's the kind of statement, this mubalagh statement that is being made about salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr. And similarly, this salam can be considered a commandment here. You know, in English, we say, for example, silence, as opposed to saying be silent. Be silent is a command. When a teacher can also say silence, or a judge could say order. It doesn't say become orderly, it just says order. So sometimes a noun is used to issue a command. That means actually suggests salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr. Salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr. You better be at peace, no fighting, no arguing, no nothing in this night. I have sent angels down. I have sent my qadr down. This is the most valuable night. This night you better be in complete submission before Allah. You better be at peace with Allah. And the opposite of war. Salamun is the opposite of harb. You better not be an authority with anybody else. You better not be snippy with anybody else. You better be good with Allah and be good with humanity. Be at peace and submission this night. It's like a suggestion or a commandment at the end. Until Fajr comes, just drop every other conflict. Just drop every other tension. Just let it all go and just be at peace. Salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr. And then others have extracted from it, how would you know that this is Laylatul Qadr? You will feel a special kind of peace in this night that you don't feel otherwise. When you stand in prayer, you'll feel a kind of tranquility, and while you want to stay in the prayer that otherwise you've never felt before. It's an unusual spiritual experience to feel the kind of calm that Allah gives the believer in the night of Qadr and in the night of Laylatul Qadr. So these are the things that we look for in Laylatul Qadr. And I'll read at the end what I was going to read to you at the beginning. Just some things to look for that are found in hadith literature on seeking the night and what its value is. So, of course, there's limits, the time of our departure, all of our provisions, and all of that is decreed in this night. And of course, angels descend. What do they descend with? With barakah, with khair, and maghfirah, everything good and everything blessed, and all of the rahmah, the mercy and forgiveness. Like I was saying before, perhaps suggests that the angels that descended in this night are only meant for this night. Like they don't descend any other time. And especially that is true of Jibreel alayhi salam. Then, so we should tell that this is the night, and there may be geographical restrictions here. The Prophet ﷺ said that in a narration that I was made to see Laylatul Qadr and then I was made to forget it. And it's in the last 10 nights. It's a calm night, not too hot, not too cold. And it has a moon that its stars are also really radiant and overshadows. And shaitan that doesn't come out. No evil comes out in it. People don't erupt into evil until Fajr comes. So we say Salamun hiya hatta matla al-fajr. It's peace until the morning times, until Fajr time, or until the dawn of Fajr. That means that people are unusually at peace in this night. So even when you go to Taraweeh and stuff, and nobody's annoyed, nobody's pushing and shoving, kids are a little bit more calm. This is Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr, تصبح الشمس حمراء, the da'ifa, the breeze is soft. So the breeze is soft, and the sun is kind of like a reddish color. The sun has got a reddish tone to it, and it's weak, and it's not an intense sunrise. It could be that Allah shows a believer what night it is in their sleep, and as has happened with several companions. And the Prophet ﷺ also says that he says that the number of angels in this night exceed the number of pebbles, the small grains of sand on the earth. And so these are just a few signs. And finally, I'll show you the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about Laylatul Qadr. He says, "Ma qama Laylatul Qadr imanan wa ihtisaban." Whoever can stand in the night of Laylatul Qadr, meaning pray. So the best thing you can do in Laylatul Qadr in the night start is praying. Nawafil, nawafil, nawafil. And the best thing you can do is when you're in sajda is to just make du'as. Cry to Allah and make du'as. But Allah doesn't just say pray. The Prophet doesn't just say pray. He gives certain qualities to that prayer. So let me explain those qualities to you. He says, imanan. Whoever prayed before Allah out of faith, meaning it's not just faithfully, they were driven, they were completely convinced that this prayer is going to be the best thing that has happened to me. They have this confidence and this reliance on Allah in these prayers like no other. That is one. Then wahtisaban. Ihtisab is someone who takes full stock of themselves. I'm aware of myself, I'm aware of my sins, I'm aware of my flaws, I'm aware of what I'm ashamed of before Allah, and I'm coming before Allah, standing in prayer, ashamed and humiliated, and completely convinced that Allah will forgive me and bless me, and will let my sins pass. So I'm coming before Allah, humiliated, in tears, and full account of myself, like a confessional prayer. This is a confessional prayer, ihtisaban. If you can pull this off, Prophet ﷺ goes on and he says, whatever took place, what kind of embarrassing sins that a person has done, has all been guaranteed to be forgiven. All of it is guaranteed to be forgiven. If we can stand before Allah in that kind of prayer to Him, that kind of prayer is harder to do together. That kind of prayer is much easier to do when we're by ourselves. So alhamdulillah, we are in this time, in this crisis, in this COVID, where we are by ourselves, and this is the perfect time for us to seek this night. And this is the time where you just want to be you and Allah and in tears. You want to stand before Allah, recite the Quran, and make your du'as before Allah, and become those who are fortunate to have found this Layla and to found this forgiveness of Allah. We are fortunate also that our nights are very long anymore. There's not much time. Get some rest, pray, get some rest, pray again, get some rest, pray again. But do that in these nights. May Allah Azza wa Jalla help all of us find Laylatul Qadr. Barakallahu fikum. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.